Et salut YouTube, voici une nouvelle série de Stanley Parable, Ultra Deluxe. 10 ans après le premier jeu, on se fait ce remake, version plus, meilleur graphisme, meilleure narration. Nous allons découvrir cela tous ensemble. J'ai déjà réglé les paramètres du jeu. C'était en QWERTY, mais je comprends pas pourquoi. À chaque fois que je joue à un jeu source, que ce soit Portal ou celui-là, ça me met AWSD au lieu de ZQSD. Et j'ai beau mettre mon clavier en mode anglais, il s'en fout. Donc voilà, j'ai dû reconfigurer les touches, c'est la seule chose que j'ai fait, j'ai pas du tout démarré le jeu. Donc on va voir ça ensemble. On commence. Ils ont gardé ça.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Et oui, il y a un narrateur. C'est ça qui est génial. Ça y est, ça marche déjà pas. Ah bah ça m'a remis les touches. Bon, le fiasco, j'avais changé les touches exprès. Bah oui, ZQSD. Fait-il? Attendez. Ça y est, c'est déjà les embrouilles. Déjà le stream de qualité. Attendez. C'est où le clavier? Au secours. Notification. Ah, faut aller dans langue, non? Un truc là. Heure et langue. Saisie. Langue de région. Oh, putain. Au secours! Bah oui, je suis en clavier français. Pourquoi ça marche pas? Je peux déjà pas me déplacer. Au secours. Reprendre la partie. Si, c'est bon, ça marche. Bon, rien compris. Je sors dans mon bureau.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oui, en effet. J'ai peut-être seulement loupé le mémo. Le mail. Le fameux mail. Bon, la salle de réu, elle est où?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok. Que se passe-t-il?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Bah oui, quoi.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Patron, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Ils sont où les employés? Ouh. C'est vrai que ça a été amélioré un peu graphiquement. Hein. Le parquet, lui, comme jamais.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Tant de mystère.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Le centre de contrôle des esprits, carrément, dans une société.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Carrément, quoi.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Libérons les esprits.
Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ah, on a fini le jeu en fait. J'ai eu le succès, on a fini le jeu, bah voilà, c'est fini. Et bien évidemment, ça c'est la fin normale du jeu si on suit tout ce que le narrateur nous dit de faire, évidemment. Mais on peut très bien choisir de faire nos propres choix.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Donc on va faire joujou un petit peu, hein. On va essayer de faire le rebelle. Parce qu'il y a plusieurs fins possibles, bien sûr. On vient de voir la happy end.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Alors. Oh, c'est plus lumineux qu'avant.
A room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ah ouais, je déguste. J'aime d'ailleurs me prendre un soda. Ah non, je tape au clavier là. Quoi?
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Ouais, bah oui. Je veux me faire un café. Attends. Ouais, non mais je tape au clavier où que je sois.
Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality.
Oui, bah oui.
It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Oui, c'est exactement pour ça.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and
Exactement.
took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Non, je ne veux pas.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ça me fait toujours autant rire comme c'est absurde. Putain, mais c'est... Ouais, graphiquement, c'est déjà un peu plus... Il y a le travail sur la lumière est meilleur qu'avant. Hop.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
Ah ouais?
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Oui.
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Putain, mais... C'est terrible, ça. Arrête.
Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Arrête de prendre tes propres décisions. Laisse-toi faire, quoi.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Oh,
I'm trying
salaud.
to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Non.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Quel salaud. Ok. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Pourquoi il a mis un
This is a
fauteuil là?
very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Oh. Bonjour, employé 427. Appuyez sur P sur votre clavier. Non, j'appuie sur U. Non, il se passe rien. Bon bah P, hein.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Putain, mais quel harcèlement, quoi. Veuillez appuyer sur P. Non. Je clique droit, voilà. Oh là là. On n'est pas libre de nos propres choix, on n'a pas notre libre arbitre, notre liberté de penser.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Sur R.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Ah, on va regarder la télé.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth.
Oh, c'est horrible.
The thought excited him terribly.
Pour passer du temps entre potes. Ouais, vas-y.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
On va préparer le dîner alors. Tac.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Ça, par contre, c'est nouveau, ces textes-là.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Je t'aime, chérie.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Allez, on va se coucher. Hein. C'est bon.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here. Watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Ben, oui, mais bon. Sinon, on peut se regarder comme ça dans le blanc des yeux pendant 1 heure. Hein. Est-ce qu'ils sont en train de décrire que le fait que les joueurs sont les esclaves des jeux et que... par exemple, quand tu fais un tuto dans un jeu, en fait, tu fais que suivre bêtement ce qu'on te dit et en fait, t'as pas le choix, quoi. Le jeu vidéo, en fait... Bah, tu suis l'expérience que le créateur du jeu a voulu que tu suives et tu te tais, t'as pas le choix, c'est terrible.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Appuyer sur B pour ne rien remettre en question. Ça arrive à beaucoup de gens, ça. Hein.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Ah là là, quelle fin étrange. Mais il y avait de nouveaux textes parce qu'il parlait pas de la ligne jaune et du bébé dans la première version du jeu. Cette fin-là, elle est un peu chelou, elle est un peu méta. Pour moi, de ce que j'en comprends, c'est vraiment le fait de dire que quand... Enfin, c'est un jeu vidéo, tu penses qu'avec les fins alternatives, t'as un choix, mais en fait, ça reste quand même des faux choix que le développeur a créés pour toi. Donc c'est vrai que t'es un peu esclave du jeu et du fait que t'as pas vraiment le choix et que tu fais bêtement ce qu'on te dit.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Ouais.
Perhaps he
Cette
had
fois-ci, on
sent the memo.
va plutôt... je sais pas, on va aller en bas. On avait déjà fait... Enfin, moi, j'ai fait... Je connais 16 fins à ce jeu. Il y en a peut-être plus maintenant.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Donc on va suivre les instructions, mais pas tout le temps. Ah oui, puis il y a une fin dans le placard à balai, c'est vrai. C'est nimp.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ah, c'est la diapo qui a changé. Cible. Push for... What? Push for... Flunkling for R&D of new coffee machine. Ah, il faut une nouvelle machine à café. Sortir Chris du placard à balai. Recruter quelqu'un pour synergiser les papiers. Les papiers sont trop synergisés. Brûler le mec des papiers. Pourquoi? Recruter quelqu'un pour... Ah non, virer le mec des papiers. Fire. Moi, j'ai full feu au mec des papiers. Bah oui. Recruter quelqu'un pour virer le mec qui synergise les papiers. What the fuck. Les mecs, ils ont écrit n'importe quoi. Qui a déplacé mon bureau? Vénère. Le futur était hier. Aujourd'hui, c'est maintenant. Ouais, bah oui. Le futur était hier. Oh là là, le... Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça, le... Ah oui, c'est le planning des meetings de la boîte. Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. Ah oui, c'est vrai. Donc, ils ont un manager pour RIP France. Qu'est-ce qui lui est arrivé, le pauvre? Dis donc. J'espère que c'est pas vrai, ça. Que c'est du fake. Ah, beaucoup de graphiques, hein. C'est pas mal, hein. Ce qui drive les boîtes, hein, les chiffres, les KPI. Beaucoup de pourcents, ouais. Ah, comment résoudre une dispute entre collègues? Merde, j'ai pas eu le temps de lire. Utiliser des diapositives pour s'assurer que tout va bien chez les employés. Ça, c'est bien. Enfin, pour convaincre les employés que tout va bien. Tout le monde est unique. Vous, surtout. Ah là là. Synergiser. Apparemment, il faut beaucoup synergiser les choses. Hein. Ouais, il y a un truc dans le placard à balai.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Ouais. On le fera plus tard, la fin du placard à balai.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Non, on va en bas. J'ai toujours cru qu'il y avait quelque chose ici, mais non, il n'y a rien. Même pas un easter egg cette fois-ci dans cette version du jeu. Oh. On voit pas mon ombre, hein. Je précise, hein. Stanley n'existe pas, je vois pas mon corps, j'ai pas d'ombre, il n'y a rien du tout.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his
Genre, il a eu
post
peur.
during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Finalement, il était fou.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ah ouais, quoi. Il y a des choses plus importantes dans la vie, quoi. Qu'un mort. Ah. Cette fin est toujours un peu chelou aussi. La fin où on devient fou. Voilà, tout simplement.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Donc on a fait 3 fins déjà. J'aurais dû mettre un compteur, histoire de pas perdre le fil. On en est à 3. On va retourner à droite.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a en fait en bas?
Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room.
Bah oui.
Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Cette pièce, c'est ce qui nous motive à nous lever le matin, quoi. Tu la regardes, t'es requinqué pour la journée.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ouais, là, on va le suivre. Parce que je me souviens plus ce qu'il y a là.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got
Non.
back on track.
Non, je prends l'ascenseur. Je me souviens plus ce qu'il y a en bas.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Ok.
Oh no.
Oh putain, il m'a fait
to the
peur.
right, my mistake.
Ok, pardon.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right?
Bon bah c'est où?
What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Vas-y, suis ton script.
You went down, right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
La première fois que il a ouvert la porte et que j'ai vu le camion, je me suis dit, mais attends, mais ils vont pas m'envoyer le camion sur la tronche dès que je vais passer la porte quand même. Non, c'est juste de la déco. Il se passe rien. Mais il y a quoi en fait? C'est quoi ce... Ah ouais, je suis là.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler.
Ah oui.
Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to,
Merde, je me suis fait spoiler.
Am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Ouais, vas-y.
And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Je me demande si c'est pas la fin au multiple redémarrage. Je sais plus si c'est celle-là.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait. What? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ok, vas-y, on va où on veut. Oh là là, dis donc. On est paumé. Oh. Et en fait là...
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Sinon je peux continuer à appuyer sur les boutons, hein.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep,
Voilà.
it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
L'histoire est peut-être derrière finalement. Peut-être que si on revenait en arrière, on retrouverait l'histoire. Ouais, bien sûr. Oh.
Aha!
Ooh.
I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Bien sûr. Ouh.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Oh. Voilà. Avec la fameuse ligne jaune.
All right, I've got a solution.
Ouais.
This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
La ligne trait de marque, tu vois, c'est une marque déposée la ligne. Bah, vas-y, on va suivre la ligne jaune. Hein. Ouh. On pouvait pas aller là avant.
You see? The line knows where the
La
story
ligne.
is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Allô? Ils sont fous. Suivons la ligne. Ah ouais, alors ici c'est trop chelou. Ah, y a pas un truc avec la ligne normalement? Ah oui, c'est trop chelou, il y a un couloir. Alors qu'en fait, normalement, il n'est pas censé en avoir un. C'est trop... Waouh. Ah putain, mais je suis là. En fait, fallait aller là.
Cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Ouais, c'est vrai qu'elle est magnifique. Bon, c'est important, faut l'étudier, il a dit, faut l'étudier. Ah, super. Génial.
Wait, what? We're back at the office?
Oui.
No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Line. Ligne, qu'est-ce que tu fais, Ligne? Genre, c'est un être vivant, quoi. Voilà, ça y est.
No, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Allez, on suit la ligne encore ou pas, monsieur? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait?
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Oh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ouais. Oh là là, trop bien.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination.
Enfin, pas bloqué dans un couloir sans fin, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
I'm ready for it.
Comment ça se finit, cette histoire? Ah oui, je crois que j'ai une idée. Oh là.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Oh non, pas encore toi, la ligne. Ah, elle repart dans le plafond, c'est pas grave.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic.
Évidemment.
Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
La fin troublante. La porte de gauche amenait aussi dans la même salle, bien sûr.
Hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
Eh oui.
That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget?
Oui.
Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this
Le jeu se relance tout seul.
wall.
Je retrouve la ligne, je suis la ligne.
Who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I
Il n'y a plus de bureau, seulement un espace noir. Oh là là, errer dans les ténèbres.
No, it can't be.
S'ennuyer et
I
partir.
don't want it to be. I don't want
Et après, on
the game
meurt.
to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on.
Désolé, hein.
I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break
Oh, le paradoxe.
the, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Il dit que
So,
le narrateur relance le jeu avant le 5e redémarrage. Il va être obligé de le
I
faire.
guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Le flip, je m'attendais pas à ce buzz. C'est terrible. Le jeu, il fait faire quelques petits... Oh, il y a le téléphone qui sonne. C'est lequel, celui-là? La musique a changé. Ah, c'est lui. C'est lui. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
Hello, this is a recorded message scheduled either by you or person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
C'est bien, hein? Un message enregistré qui te dit « Attention, ne faites pas confiance aux messages enregistrés, c'est très dangereux. Donc si vous en entendez un, arrêtez tout de suite. » Normal. Donc on n'a plus de musique. Normalement, il nous dit « Hé, ah, le narrateur a disparu. Allô? Il est où? Narrateur? Tu me manques. » La ligne n'est pas revenue par contre. Il est où le narrateur? On est dans le 6e redémarrage?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non, je vais à droite.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
On va au lounge. Trop bien.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace? Its subtle charm?
Ouais.
No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker.
Carrément.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Non.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired.
Cette réplique, elle est géniale, je trouve. On te culpabilise en tant que joueur de ne pas faire ce qu'on te dit en te prenant pour un idiot, quoi. Le mec est tellement nul, quoi. Enfin, c'est étonnant qu'il ait pas été viré, quoi. J'ai le contrôle de ma vie.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten
Voilà.
off, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Eh oui. J'ai envie de faire la fin en bas avec le
How
truc.
long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Je sais même plus combien de fins on a fait là déjà. Alors on a fait la fin classique, la happy end, où on trouve le mind control facility et on sort dehors et c'est machin. On a fait la fin où on a notre fausse femme mannequin là et c'est la fin désespoir où en fait on n'a pas le choix, l'illusion du choix. On a eu la fin où on devient fou et on meurt. On vient de faire la fin troublante. Enfin, on a fait la fin troublante et là on vient de faire la fin où on saute par-dessus la plateforme et on meurt. Donc on en a fait 5. Moi j'ai bien envie de faire la fin en bas où on décide d'allumer la machine de contrôle des esprits.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
c'est ça.
doors, he entered the door on his left.
Et après, il y a des fins, Ah, s'il y a des nouvelles fins,
Yet there was not a single person here either.
comment les
Feeling
trouver?
a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Et on pourrait faire
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
on pourrait faire la fin, bien sûr, du placard à balai. Ah, on peut ouvrir la salle de bain du boss. Il y a des moments où on pouvait pas. Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, morning crisp. Miroir où on peut pas se voir, bien sûr. Il est dégueulasse ce miroir. Même l'évier, il est sale. Ah! Et le savon, il est fluo, quoi. Génial. Ouh. Hop, cassons-nous. Cassons-nous! Bien sûr, ce n'est pas un vrai ascenseur, comme on peut le voir. Incroyable.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ah non, je me suis dit, merde, les codes fonctionnent tous. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Non.
Trying to input anything on the device
Voilà.
was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
M'en fous, je mets autre chose.
2845.
Merde. Ah mais dézoom. J'ai zoomé, je sais même pas comment j'ai fait. Comment j'ai fait pour zoomer? Comme ça?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself.
Bon, finalement...
Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. Finalement, en tant que patron, j'ai un passage secret dans mon bureau. Et si jamais quelqu'un essaye de s'y incruster mais n'y arrive pas, par mesure d'urgence, il s'ouvre. Logique. Ce serait dommage que personne ne trouve mon terrible secret, quoi. Ah, mais on pouvait monter! Ah, merde! J'aurais dû appuyer sur le bouton du haut. Non, je pense pas. Je pense qu'on pouvait que descendre. Ah bah si, je peux remonter. Ça marche? Je remonte vraiment dans le bureau du...
Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office?
Ah oui.
Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Ah bon? Alors ça, je connais pas pour le coup. Ça, c'est nouveau. Il y avait pas ça. Je décide de retourner
Here
dans...
we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is.
Oui.
What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
D'accord. On met un autre code. 2845. Comment ça, c'est pas le bon code? C'était ça, non? C'était pas ça, le code? Ah, je m'en souvenais plus, peut-être. Ou alors, j'avais jamais essayé dans le jeu de base d'appuyer sur le bouton du haut, de revenir.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
J'adore. J'ai essayé d'appuyer sur le bouton du haut, hein. Ça a appuyé sur le bouton du bas. Il n'y avait pas de choix véritable, en fait. On pouvait appuyer que sur un seul des deux boutons.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ah, et on peut aussi s'échapper par là, mais on le fera dans une autre ligne d'histoire. Là, ce qu'on va essayer de faire, c'est de couper le... Enfin, d'activer la machine.
An enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
J'adore,
Did he have the strength to find
ils
out?
avaient tellement pas de place sur le mur, ils en ont rajouté au-dessus. Tu sais, comme ferait un enfant en fait. Oh là, il n'y a plus de place, comment on fait? Vas-y, on le rajoute à l'arrache au-dessus. Il y a une autre fin à faire ici aussi.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Non.
No. He refused to believe it. He
Pirate.
couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Non, on va allumer.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my
Non, je veux contrôler les esprits.
you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going. What all this means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing
Brimstone,
endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Ouais, ça.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless, to see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
Goodbye.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Finalement, on peut pas s'échapper, quoi. C'est le narrateur qui est aux commandes, hein. C'est lui qui crie l'histoire, hein, forcément. Ah là là. Merci d'avoir regardé cet épisode de The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. La bise.